Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams again today. Because we are still in February and my friends Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Amanda from The Curly Reader started a historical fiction readathon in the month of February, I thought I would talk about some more historical fiction for my shelf spotlight this month. I am going to talk today about a bunch of unread books that revolve around World War II. There is a plethora of World War II historical fiction out there, and I have a ton of it on my shelves. And I know some people are kind of put off from World War II historical fiction, but I personally love it. So I've kind of divided my unread historical fiction into three sections. The first section I'm going to talk about are ones that you guys recommended to me from my own TBR shelf on Goodreads. These are ones that I hope to get to in 2020. They're on my cart. I keep them separate from the rest because I'd like to really try to get to them this year. The second pile are ones that I'm also very interested in and not planning on unhauling. The third section are ones that I'm just really not sure about, and I would love to hear from you if you think I should ditch them and just get rid of them, or if you've read them and you really like them. I actually want to hear that about all of these books, if you've read them and really like them. Or if you've read them and didn't like them, I'd like to know that as well. I have 21 books here altogether, so I'm not going to really talk that long about any of them and give in-depth summaries of them, and for a lot of them I just don't have in-depth summaries. So sorry, if you want to know more about any of them, let me know and we can look them up and talk about them more in the comments. Let's talk first about the ones that were recommended to me to read by you guys. So first we have The Orphan's Tale by Pam Jenoff. This one actually follows a traveling circus in Germany, and I believe a Jewish girl kind of takes refuge within this traveling circus. Very interested in reading that one. I have also The Alice Network, which is so highly praised. I was supposed to read this with my Goodreads read-along group last summer, and I just didn't get to it. A network of female spies during World War II. Definitely interested in this one as well. We have Mr. Churchill's Secretary by Susanella McNeill. I've heard from Megan at Megan Hannett that she absolutely loves this series of books by Susanella McNeill, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and it deals with the British side of World War II and obviously Mr. Churchill's secretaries. I have The Memory of Us by Camille de Mayo. This one takes place in England as well during the war, and this woman kind of leaves her past behind to start a new life and keeps secret things from her past, and I'm sure those secrets come to play later in the story. Beneath a Scarlet Sky, which I believe is a nonfiction by Mark Sullivan. Am I wrong about that? It could be fiction. In World War II, Italy, love was worth spying for. So again, we have a young man in Italy who wants nothing to do with the Nazis, but then ends up becoming a spy and working with the Nazis as a spy. I've heard really good things about this one. It's a chunker. That's a big one. And the last one that was recommended to me is The German Girl by Armando Lucas Correa. This one takes place in Germany, but then also on the ship that goes to Cuba in 1939, and I believe there's a dual timeline in 2014 as well. I am a big fan of dual timelines, so I'm excited about this one as well. So those are all ones that were recommended to me. This next stack are ones that I just have heard good things about or just am really interested in. I do have another nonfiction here, Saints and Villains by Denise Giardina. The cover of this doesn't excite me at all, but this is a biography, I believe, of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a German theologian who kind of resisted the Nazis from within Germany. He risked his life and finally lost it through his participation in a failed plot to assassinate Hitler. Yeah, so I'm really interested in reading a Dietrich Bonhoeffer biography. Another one that has to do, I believe, with some kind of spy situation is The Secrets of Nanri by Alex Rickloff. This one takes place in Cornwall, England, both in 1940 and also in 2013. And we kind of follow this home, Nanri Hall, and its journey and the people who lived there and the family that lived there throughout those generations. I have two YA ones here that I have heard good things about. The first one is Wait for Me by Caroline Leach. And I believe this is a romance, 1945, so towards the end of the war. It takes place in Scotland, but he was a German fighter during the war. So I'm not really sure more about it than that, but I have heard that this one is emotional, as most World War II historical fiction is. Then I'm also excited about this one, Orphan Monster Spy by Matt Killeen. This is another YA where this young girl becomes a spy working, I think, as a secretary for Hitler or something like that. She had trained as an actress and learned the art of impersonation, but nothing prepares her for the job that she's going to have within the Nazi Party. So I've heard that this one is really good. I keep saying that, but that's why I have it. Then this is one that I just recently talked about in a book haul, The Last Year of the War by Susan Meissner. This is an author that I have read a couple books from and absolutely loved. This is about a German-American teenager whose life changes forever when her immigrant family is sent to an internment camp during World War II. So getting a little glimpse of life in an internment camp. So that's not something that I've read that much about. Very interested in this one. And the last one that I have that I'm really excited about is The Baker's Secret by Stephen P. Kiernan. This one takes place in France, and we follow this baker who bakes hidden messages into her breads and has this communication network hiding things in the things that she bakes. So I just feel like that is going to be a really interesting story, and I'm looking forward to that one. Now this last pile, please tell me if I should keep these or get rid of them. I know I already have so many World War II books, so if I should unhaul them, let me know. The first one is Chris Bojalian. I never know how to say his name. He's written quite a few books, and I'm interested in reading one from him. This is The Light in the Ruins. This one takes place in Italy, in Tuscany in 1943, and two German soldiers kind of show up at this home. This family thinks that they're kind of isolated and separate from the war, and they're kind of able to avoid things, but then these two German soldiers show up. I don't know if their plane went down. I don't know what happened, but I'm sure there's a woman involved and there's a soldier walking away, so I'm sure there's some kind of romance going to happen between the soldier and someone in the family. Also in Tuscany, we have The Tuscan Child by Rhys Bowen. And Rhys Bowen is another author that I haven't yet read anything by. This one takes place in 1944. A British bomber lands in a German-occupied Tuscan field. So kind of the same situation, a soldier showing up at this family's home. And then we also move ahead 30 years later. This sounds like very similar story to this one. Atomic City Girls by Janet Beard. This takes place in America, and we follow women who worked on nuclear bombs in this town, and nobody really knew what they were doing at first, but I've heard some mixed things about this one. Let me know if you've read it. The Very Thought of You by Rosie Allison. I believe this is about when in London, families sent their children outside to live with other families in the countryside. It takes place in 1939 in England. 8-year-old Anna is relocated with other children to a large Yorkshire estate. I love The War That Saved My Life, which is a middle grade book that revolves around that situation where children were being sent outside the city, so I feel like this might be a hit for me as well, but I haven't really heard anything about this one. I do have a middle grade book called I Am David by Anne Holm. David's entire 12-year-old life was spent in a grisly concentration camp in Eastern Europe. He knows nothing of the outside world, but when he's given the chance to escape, he seizes it. That sounds really good. I haven't yet read it. It's middle grade. Maybe I'll throw it in my middle grade March TBR. I don't know. The Paris Architect by Charles Belfour. I've heard a little bit about this one, and I believe it's about this architect who designs houses to have places to hide Jews. I'm intrigued by that idea, but I haven't heard really anything about this book. We have Ellen Keith, Dutch Wife. In this one, this couple from Amsterdam is sent away to concentration camps, and the wife is given this kind of awful ultimatum to die in the concentration camp or to join the camp brothel, and that kind of impossible decision to make. Interested to hear if any of you have read this one. And the last two that I have to talk about are both by Alison Richmond, who I have not read anything by. We have The Lost Wife, which is about a couple who were separated when they were sent to concentration camps, and then many years later, the man sees the woman. I don't know if they were married or if they were just dating, or they had fallen in love, but he sees her many years later, and do they rekindle their relationship and kind of get past everything that had happened to them or not? Intrigued by this one. Have you read it? And finally, I have The Garden of Letters by Alison Richmond again. she's blurbed by Kristen Hanna, which is a good sign because I love some Kristen Hanna. This one deals a little bit with Mussolini and the fascist regime in Italy. This woman, who is a cellist, well-known cellist, shows up in this coastal village and then kind of becomes paralyzed when she sees some German soldiers. And then this man kind of pretends like he knows her, acts as if he knows her, and rescues her from this situation. And I am intrigued by that beginning of that description. So yeah, I would love to know if you have read any of those. Tell me if I should keep them or unhaul them. Which ones should I focus on? I mean, obviously I'm going to try to focus on the ones that you guys recommended to me at the beginning of the year, but I love World War II historical fiction. And later on this year, I'll do another shelf spotlight where I talk about all the World War II historical fiction that I have already read and loved. But I feel like if you've been here for a while, you've probably heard me talk about a lot of those. So I wanted to highlight some books that maybe don't get as much airtime on BookTube. And yeah, just see what you think. Let's chat down in the comments. You guys know I always love talking to you down there. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you think of them, and anything else that you want to talk about. And I will be talking to you very soon in another video. Bye.